Hello, 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 and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about Kempo and the martial arts and whatever else that we happen to talk about. I am Reggie Darden, and I have Heather Flessing with us today, and
Hi.
we are just going to, jump in and talk some Kempo and talk some whatever else. So I usually start things off by kind of giving my background. So I got started in the early to mid '90s in Chinese Kempo, which was essentially the Tracy's system of Kempo. And after seeing Jeff Speakman's The Perfect Weapon, I was instantly hooked and drawn into Kempo and couldn't wait to get started. And so I trained at a school. I'm from Southern California and trained at a school there. And I trained there for about 3 years, getting almost to my third brown when I left for the army. While I was in the army, I did some taekwondo and some hapkido and some boxing, and had a good time with that. While I was in, or I should say, after I got out of the military, then I kind of just did my own thing, kind of just played around. And didn't find a school that I really liked until I got involved in capoeira, and I've been enjoying that and doing that and training and some teaching in that, coming up on 17 years now. Uh, in my travels and journeys, I still kept my love for Kempo and decided to seek that out. So about 2 3 years ago, I found a school that I liked in the Ed Parker's American Kempo version, if you will, and just jumped right into that and. Had to start over at a white belt, which at the time was a little disheartening, but it was very much needed. The curriculum was a bit different, and I've just learned so much more now than I did at my previous school. So I'm happy about that, and I've worked my way back up to green belt, and now uh, chipping away at the third brown. Still got a ways to go before I get to that, but yeah, just been enjoying that, and now we have this podcast, and I get to talk to all these wonderful people, and so that's my story, and I'll stick to it, and we'll get into kind of some other things as we go along, but yeah, that's kind of the rundown of how things have gone with me. So I will turn it over to my esteemed guest, and yeah, tell us how Kempo found you and how it all got started for you.
Sure. Back in, I think it was 2006 or might have been 2007, um, at my church, Bob White and his wife, Barbara White, had been at our church, and they invited the women there to a women's self-defense seminar at their studio. And so I was interested. I went. I really enjoyed it. I liked learning all about the um, different aspects of just women's safety and things like that. And but I was not in any position to start financially to start any kind of extra anything, and so I just kind of put it aside. And then the next year, they invited the women again to another self defense seminar at their studio, and so I went again. And by this point, I was in the middle of my master's program for education, and so I told them after that seminar that I was really enjoying it. I really wanted to start karate, but I definitely was not going to do it while going to school for my master's and teaching full time. And so I waited until I was all done with my master's program, and in October of 2009, I started going to Bob White Karate Studio, and I went 5 days a week. And I was very committed to going. I didn't have any other obligations other than my husband, but he was, fine with staying up late. We both enjoyed staying up late. We didn't have any kids, and so we could You know, stay up as late as we wanted, really. And so after I get home from karate, I kind of just chill and cool off and whatever. So it was kind of nice to have that time in my life where I was able to go to the studio 5 days a week. Once I got a little farther along in my belts, I was going for like 3 hours every day, pretty much, except for maybe like once a week I wasn't. But it was a lot. And so I was able to advance really quickly. I had some really great teachers. Um, like I had one person in particular, Dr. Rod Smith. He was teaching the Tuesday and Thursday night classes, and he would stay after class and work with me for about an hour and just go over any questions I had. And I'd have amazing teachers helping me with sparring on Monday and Wednesday nights. And I'd have, people working with me on Saturday mornings. I was there from like 9 a.m. until noon. It was, it was a lot. And I grew so much. And so after 3.5 years, I was able to get my black belt. And, people always say, what's the average time it takes to get a black belt? And what's the time it takes an average person to get a black belt? And our saying at our studio is, the average person does not get a black belt. And so, you can't say it's going to take somebody so much time. It's whatever each person is. But I felt like I kind of moved a little quickly through it. And so after I got my black belt, I kind of slowed down a little bit. I still went just as frequently, but I wasn't as focused on learning more as much as refining what I already knew. And so I wanted to work with students and teach at the studio. I was already doing that with the kids programs. I had started teaching when I was a brown belt and working with Mrs. White, who had been teaching the class, and I took over for her and taught the class for a few years. And then I started also teaching a Friday night sparring class, and I was working, I was trading off with other people teaching the Monday night class, and I really love sparring. That is definitely my favorite part of the sport, is sparring, and not necessarily the getting hit, but more like I like sport karate more than I would like continuous. I'm not really into getting myself beat up. I just like the idea of tag. So it's kind of what I feel like sport karate is more of tag. But I do like what it teaches you about how how to control your emotions, how to work when you have adrenaline pumping through you, recognizing cues that people give you when you're sparring and stuff. So I think that also I'm very technical, and I like being able to analyze that. So at this point, I got my black belt in 2013, and at this point I am a little farther along and enjoying things. I also waited until I got my black belt to start doing jujitsu. So I started training in jujitsu as well because I thought it would complement my Kenpo, because Kenpo doesn't have really all that much ground. And I figure being a woman, if I'm going to be attacked, there's a good chance there'll be some ground involved. And I want to, be able to do something about that. So at this point, I've been able to get my blue belt, but I've had to take a little bit of a break. I just had a baby in December of last year, and so I haven't been able to get much back into jiu-jitsu. At least I've done karate, but not jiu-jitsu as much. And so I really enjoy just the aspects of being at our studio. Our studio is very family. It feels like family. And while I was out pregnant, I just go and hang out since I couldn't work out with different people. I do my own practicing. I wouldn't join classes, but then afterward I was just missing my friends who were like my family. So Kempo definitely is like an extended family for me, having people at my karate studio, people I've met at tournaments who I'm now good friends with, and so I feel like Kempo has definitely been a positive thing in my life. So
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I can totally relate to the being at the studio all the time when I got started. So actually, before I got started, so it was me and my best friend, and he got to go ahead and sign up before I did, and I had to wait, but I would be at the school, from when they open to when they close every day. I'm sitting there watching every class, and when my friend could, he would kind of sneak off and give me a little bits and pieces of things here and there. Don't tell the instructor, but so yeah, I probably had about 6 months of quote unquote training before I actually signed up. So it was nice to just I would eat up all I could because I just was just so excited to be there and just meeting all the great people, and like you said, they're a family. And we would all, after class, we go hit up the Denny's late at night, and take over to the Denny's and shut it down. And we'd like to do this thing where it was always somebody's birthday, even if it wasn't somebody's birthday. And so that was always a fun time to kind of make everybody yeah, make people turn different shades of red. And yeah, had a lot of fun with that. So going back, you mentioned that you started with the kind of self defense parts of it. I mean, did you have any kind of interest in the martial arts before that, or it was
Not
just
really. I mean, I did sports, and so I enjoyed just the idea of being athletic and working out and whatnot. And up to that point, I had been playing a lot of volleyball. That had been my like main thing. And so once I started karate, I kind of put that off to the side, and I didn't really. I mean, I missed it a little bit, but it wasn't like I found this new passion, and I really enjoyed. Like when we did the seminar, I found that kicking was my favorite. I really enjoyed kicking the pads, kicking into the shields. That was like my favorite. And my legs were pretty strong at that point. Just I had done a lot of, jumping with volleyball and whatnot. And so I had pretty good quads and calves. And so I think kicking became one of my favorite things. Um, that's one of my favorite parts about sparring is kicking and adding on to that. And so, um, yeah, I didn't have any, I enjoyed the Karate Kid movie, like that was about it. I hadn't really done it otherwise. So it was just that self-defense seminar just piqued my interest. So,
gotcha. So my with the self defense seminars, kind of something that I don't know, I guess kind of has bothered me about those a lot of times is uh, that it's I don't know. I guess maybe I haven't been to a lot of them, but I feel like a lot of the ones that I've seen were just kind of like, oh, well, somebody grabs you and you kick them in the balls, and that's kind of it. And um, I've one I think that maybe there's not enough of maybe the psychological side of it, um, and I feel like uh, there should be more of a push for follow up classes. Or I think I see a lot of them, and it's like, oh well, come down for an afternoon, and you're gonna hit somebody in a big foam suit or whatever, and then it's like, okay, now you can protect yourself against anything, and just kind of leave it at that. And you kind of fingers crossed that they're gonna maybe come back and actually sign up for actual classes. But just kind of, I don't know, in your view, is maybe that something that is kind of happens a lot, or maybe it
I
just
I can't speak to other things, but I mean, I teach swim and self-defense seminars now. Like the ones I went to before I started karate, Mrs. White did a great job. Barbara White taught a lot of like information in the beginning about predators. What are they looking for? What should you be looking for? What are some basic, ways to just keep yourself out of those situations in the first place? And so, like, we did have a lot of that. And when I teach, I take a lot of her curriculum and I've kind of made it a little bit my own, and I combine it with other people's information I've got from different seminars I've been to. So we have a good, like, 45 minutes of a lecture almost at the beginning where we talk a lot about it. And then the next usually hour and a half of, of the seminar is um, building confidence. Like, women, a lot of times don't feel like, I think in general, don't feel like they can hit things, right? And so, like, just working on hitting pads as hard as you can, knowing that key eyeing is going to, give you a little extra oomph on it and scare the person you're attacking. Like, they weren't expecting you to do that. So talking about those kind of things with women, and making sure that they know that they can hit. And it's not just kick them in the balls, it's kick them in the knee, break their
Yes,
knee,
yes,
because then they're not going to chase you. If they're on, some drugs and you kick them in the balls, they're not necessarily going to feel it. You know, you got to do something where even if they can't feel it, they're not going to be able to do something. So, talking about all sorts of sensitive areas, making sure they know using their palm for a palm strike, using their elbow. Those are the weapons they want. They don't want to try and get into a wrestling match with the person. They want to go for those sensitive areas, gouging eyes, smashing noses, going for that, and then screaming as loud as possible. We practice, you know, we practice yelling. I'm sure when I did one at a park, and I'm pretty sure that the neighbors around the park were freaking out, like, what is happening? Because all the women were, yelling really loudly. And so I can't talk about other self-defense seminars. I just know the ones I do, I encourage women to be, as loud and as strong as possible. And then I tell them that you have taken the first step to protecting yourself, and this is not the end. That if you want to be prepared for that situation, you need to follow up with something. Whether it's go find a martial arts studio, whether it's go find a college that provides, a 10-week course on this, whether it's find maybe at a martial arts studio, they have a 10-week course that you can take. But I tell them this is not the end, and that they need to go home and practice all the things we just did. Find somebody that they are comfortable with, whether it be a spouse, a partner, you know, a friend, that they can try these techniques on, and remember how to do them. Otherwise, it's like learning a language. You don't say it, you're not going to remember it. So I do think that's super important about women's self-defense. And I have a passion for women and their growth in martial arts, and that's one of the ways that I like feel like I can contribute. I've taught seminars for my church. I've taught them for teachers at my school. I've taught it for women in a mom's group that I'm part of. They've always been free, and I've never charged, because I want women to feel like that they don't need to be victims, that they can be aware. I want to provide people with that information. So that's how I feel about women in self-defense classes. So.
very nice. I like that. I like that. So, when you went ahead and signed up for classes, was there, kind of like a culture shock, or was, did you kind of feel like, oh, like this is quite a bit different than the self defense classes, or did it just
So
kind of
I
feel natural, or
I feel like at Bob White's Karate Studio there were many women. Like, it was it was not what you think of with a typical studio, where it's mainly male dominated and there might be one or two women. There were a lot of women there training black belts and underbelts. And so I felt like I had great role models. A lot of those women who were there had been kids that grew up in the studio and now have become adults who are teaching, who, I would go to classes where there were women teachers. It wasn't even just women taking the class. So, seeing, Barbara White or Andrea Peffer or, like any of those strong women that you see at tournaments still sparring, I loved getting to go and watch. I found mentors there who could show me what they found worked as a woman. You know, um, I I didn't feel like there was a big shock in that way. Um, I did feel like some men did feel timid around like how do I interact with, I don't want to scare her away, but I don't want to make her feel like I'm not, giving her all I have, so I did feel like there was a little bit of, you know, um, tiptoeing around things for a
Hmm.
little while in the beginning, and then once the men there knew who I was and what I was expecting, and that I was expecting them to train as hard with me as they would with a guy, and I was going to defend myself. That I think that helped um, there be less awkwardness. So yeah, I do feel like I was kind of blessed to have found the place that I found and the people that I found. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I like to say that we you don't find Kempo, Kempo finds you, and uh, we end up at the places that we end up because the universe or whatever you want to attribute it to is this person needs to be at this spot so that they can meet these people or train with these people or inspire these people. And yeah, I think the right person fits in the right place at the right time. So yeah, I really like that. So, so you mentioned that you like the point sparring. So I take it that you did some competing, or did you get into
Yes,
that at
yes.
all?
I I did a lot of tournaments in the beginning, like local tournaments. I guess not a lot. I did a medium amount of tournaments. Um, I liked going to the Long Beach Internationals that weren't always in Long Beach, but
Hmm.
most of the time they were. And then just like I went to tournaments in Vegas. Um, I've been to just a variety, and so I enjoyed getting to see some of the same people sometimes. The problem with my age when I started was there aren't that many people who spar at 30 or older who are women. And so unless you like go to a really big tournament, you might get one or two women as an underbelt. There was like barely anybody. It was really hard. And so a lot of times I had exhibition matches. Um, Once I got to be a black belt, there were more women. Um, but now that I'm in like the 40-year-old range, it's sparring against 20-year-olds, which is much more challenging because they've been sparring since they were three,
Hmm.
and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and they just stand on one leg and kick you, with a round kick and a hook kick and a side kick, and they haven't put their foot down, and they're somehow protecting their groin at the same time, and
yeah.
you're like, how are you doing this? Um, you know, so it does get a little more challenging. I wish there were younger women at my studio sparring that I could train with, but I do have guys that I spar with at my studio. They just don't kick the same.
Hmm.
It's not the same kind of sparring. But yeah, I definitely did a lot of competitions. I like to go to competitions now just to be involved with helping. So a lot of times I will run the staging
Hmm.
at tournaments. So like our studio had a charitable tournament that I ran the sparring, or well, I ran all the divisions, staging for them for the entire tournament, multiple years. I help with the Long Beach Internationals for the Kempo tournament there. Um, I enjoy that aspect of trying to get things. I'm a very OCD person that likes things in order. And so
Hmm.
I like making sure everything's the way it needs to be, that people are where they need to go, setting up the division sheets for sparring, and knowing where to put them on the bracket, that kind of thing. I know that some tournaments have gotten a little bit more advanced with like computerized stuff now, which is good when it works.
Hmm.
But if it isn't working, I like to have that backup if I know how to do this. Um, so yeah, I definitely enjoy both competing and being a help at a competition.
Very
So
nice. Yeah, your wife, excuse me, my wife and you would get along famously. Definitely got the same sort of mindset and desire to be organized and
does
unlike
your wife
me.
do martial arts?
No,
Oh,
she's. I kind of wish she would, and I kind of wish she wouldn't, but she's got she had issues with her feet and a lot of surgeries and things on her feet
mm,
over the years, and she's got like screws and things in there. So yeah,
makes it
it'd
more
be
challenging.
pretty
Yeah.
tough. Yeah, but she gets to listen to me blabber on about class every day, and then
So does
now
my
I'm doing the
husband.
podcast. Yeah, doing the podcast and talking to all these people, and it's just like, oh yeah, I got to talk to this person today, and she's just kind of, even though I'm excited about it, I see a little bit of the kind of her eyes glaze over a little bit, and it's like, okay, that's great. I mean, she's super excited and supportive of my endeavors, but it's like it would be a little bit easier if she was into it as much as I am, but we make it work. We make it work. So I have kind of fun with that. I was telling her the other day. So there is a documentary. It's like Finding Mr. Miyagi or Looking for Mr. Miyagi. I keep forgetting the name of it, but the gentleman in there, he wants to. He's documenting his journey to getting to black belt before he turned 50, and there's a part where he is kind of interviewing his wife, and he's just like, "Oh, well, how do you feel about me going off to class, all these nights a week, and kind of being gone and this and that." And she's like, I support you, but also it's kind of irritated when like the kids are fussing, and it's like, okay, I'm out of here. Like you get to deal with them. So I think my wife kind of feels like that sometimes, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to class. And it's like,
It's
you know,
definitely more of a balance. Now that I have a baby, um, I had many, many, many years of we would just he just knew I was going to be gone. He'd watch his TV shows, whatever he wanted to catch up on, or play his video games. Totally fine with that. When I got home, we'd hang out. And now that we have a baby, it's like we have to. I feel like I need to be fair about who gets to take care of her and when. And so I kind of have to plan it out. And I can't seem to go to class at night because it's like right at bedtime. And so I don't want to leave him with bedtime when I already leave him with bedtime on Tuesday nights when I teach a class online. And so I feel like um, Saturday mornings are the only days I get to go. But if I have something that I'm doing Saturday afternoon, I have to be aware that I've already left her with him all morning. And so, like,
mhm.
do I want to be fair, or can I take her all day on Sunday and let him have some time too? Yeah, it's really a challenge to do that balancing act, and I think it's important for both partners to understand that and talk about it, or else it's gonna even though you need an outlet, like sometimes you just need to get away and go punch something, you know.
Exactly.
Um, sometimes you just got to know that your partner wishes they had something like that too, or wishes they got to have a chance to do that. And so, I offer my husband a chance to go and hang out with his friends, go do something, go out of the house and do something outside of the house for a couple hours or for today or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things that now that I'm a mom, like it makes even more sense. Like I already knew it was going to be a challenge, but now I'm like, oh my goodness, there's all this stuff that you just don't think about until you become a parent. So
Gotcha, gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha. So jumping back to the competing real quick, was it just the sparring, or did you do forms or weapons or any of the other
Yeah, I
kind of
did forms.
divisions?
I did weapons a couple times. I wasn't like my form 7 with the sticks is not amazing. And so I did do it a couple times, but I didn't feel like the tournaments I went to and I did it in were open tournaments, and most of the people had a variety of weapons. And they'd been training with them for a while, and um, the forms that they did with them made them look very scary, whereas my Form 7 didn't seem very scary, so I didn't always do all that well with it. But with forms in general, if it was a Kempo division, I usually did pretty well, and I've won some first places with Form 4 and Form 5. And I did a combination of forms short 2 and long 3. Like I
Oh,
combined
nice.
them together. But with when it's an open division, it's much more challenging because you get like it's a completely different style, and you get people who are doing the traditional Japanese styles where, it's slower movements and then a burst of power with it. And so like um I had said that the next time I wanted to do Form 4, I was going to try, at a tournament to do it in more of that style, like that expression of it.
Hmm.
So, like, I had talked to Steve Cooper because he has a version that he does with um, his kids for Form 4 that is that type of thing. And I just wanted to get some ideas. So I had talked to him about, what kind of things I could do for that. And so I figured I'd check in with him again next time I was going to compete. Um, but I would say more often I would do forms just because I knew there were going to be people to compete against. It wasn't because I love doing forms.
Hmm.
And, I'd go to a tournament and I'd sign up for forms and sparring and hope there was some sparring, but know I was going to compete in forms. So,
Gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha, gotcha,
Yep.
gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I only did a handful, and that's that's probably being generous. A handful of tournaments, and I only sparred, and I'd get disqualified every time. So
Uh,
I go to all
too
these
too
open
aggressive?
tournament. Well, I go to these open tournaments, and a lot of them they're not used to hand. My kind of thing was the back knuckle and the reverse punch. Back knuckle to a reverse punch, or
Hmm.
doing like they call it the California Blitz, and
Right.
uh, yeah, a lot of those didn't
Were
fly
you hit
at,
in the
at the
face or something? Like, how would
yeah,
you get
like
disqualified?
I'd back knuckle to the face, and like I'm
Yeah.
used to, our just, our normal in-house classes or like our in-house tournaments where, yeah, you could do a back knuckle to the face and go to these tournaments and, just force a habit, muscle memory, and I would
Right.
just go for it and bam. And then they'd be like, no, can't do that. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
all
That's
right, I
one.
won't do it. And then I
Yeah.
do it. And then it's like, oh, okay, I'm done.
That's one of the problems with training for Kenpo tournaments and then going to open. Like NBL tournaments, the groin is not a target, but Kenpo tournaments it is. And so,
Hmm.
like, if you don't get your kick up high enough,
Yeah.
you can get in trouble for that. So,
Yeah.
definitely a challenge to remember the rules and what's allowed. And, like, suddenly at NBL, front hand of the body is okay, at least at tournaments in the past. I don't know what the rules are now because I haven't had a chance to be in one of those recently, but I went to a tournament. The person scored twice on me with their front hand on my body, and I'm like, where are they getting these points from?
Hmm.
And then I remembered that it wasn't in uh, the division I was in was the NBL division, and that's why they were getting front hand of the body points.
Hmm.
So definitely a challenge when you spar in different types of tournaments and have those
Hmm.
different rules, and you have to remember them. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I ever went to, kind of a Kempo specific tournament. I do kind of vaguely remember going to. I'm pretty sure I'll have to try and find some people to corroborate this memory, but I do remember going to internationals, and this would have probably been, I don't know, 95, maybe 95, 96. And I remember that we got there and we weren't there for very long, and this like huge brawl just kind of broke out.
I
Um,
heard about that
there
one.
was well,
Yeah.
the judges were just the judging was atrocious, and there were just people just making the worst calls ever, and I seem to remember there was a lady, Michelle Mouse Krasnu, probably butchering her name, but she was a real popular tournament competitor, and she did some movies and TV and stuff like that. And her dad was, from what I recall, he was kind of I guess a big-ish name in the martial arts, and I guess he threw a big fit over one of her fights, and my understanding is that was kind of the start of it, and just yeah, just people were just fighting, and it was just getting really bad, and so my classmates and I, we just were like, okay, we're out of here, and it's like, we drove all this way and excited to be at this big prestigious tournament, and then all of a sudden just chaos, and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're out of here. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was
Judging
tournament
is definitely
careers.
one of those frustrating things about tournaments. If you don't have judges who are qualified to do it. And so like there have been times at tournaments where I'm doing staging, but then there's maybe some refs that have not been very good. And so when I bring in the next group, I might fill up a couple rings and then bring in a small group at that ring and bump that person out and take over
Hmm.
in their spot, like, or move somebody else into their spot or talk to whoever's in charge of judges. But yeah, there have been times where I've just jumped in and done the calling because I feel like um, it wasn't good. And so I feel like I have enough experience with calling and you know coaching and all of that to see enough to do at least a better job. So yeah, no, I enjoy that part too. I guess I didn't mention that I do enjoy being one of the judges for sparring. Not necessarily much for forms, but for definitely for sparring. Because yeah, when you get those judges that aren't making good calls, then you get angry competitors and angry
Hmm.
people watching that are going to start causing issues. So
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
good way to have a tournament go.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was kind of the other part. I had. I'm still kind of toying with it now in my quote unquote old age of competing for forms divisions, because I never did that before, and I kind of want to do that. And we'll see if that happens. Haven't just quite decided on it yet, but I remember going to the tournaments, and that was another thing that caught a lot of heat, is that we would go to these open tournaments, and if there were a lot of judges that were used to the hard stylists,
Hmm.
and then you're doing our forms are got that kind of soft kung fu element, and so if you got a lot of those hard style judges, then they're not interested, and then vice versa if you're doing so someone that I was speaking with earlier today did long one for his form, and if you've got a bunch of kung fu people and you're doing long one, and then you're gonna be like,
Yep.
where's the cat stances at, and where's and it's like, okay, so uh, yeah, that kind of gave me a bad taste in my mouth about going doing that in a tournament, because my favorite forms are the more soft stylish kind of forms. It's like, oh well, I'm never going to win anything if I try and do these. So, but I
It
don't
does
know.
make
We'll
it a
see.
challenge. You just have to think what your audience is expecting, and the problem with changing it for your audience is that you then have to. train in it so many ways to get ready for whatever, but you don't know, like if the judges aren't wearing a uniform, you don't know even what style they're there for. So just kind of make whatever it is your own, make it the best you can. So yeah,
Exactly,
it
exactly. So I have recently kind of started being part of the instructors program at my school. Even though I taught capoeira for a lot of years, uh, teaching kempo is kind of new to me. So, uh, if you could kind of talk a little bit about your early experiences in teaching, and then maybe give some advice to someone like me that is new to teaching, or and others that are listening that may be new to teaching. Kind of what's your advice based on your experience?
sure. So in the beginning, well, at our studio, it's expected that as people are coming up in the ranks, that you are helping them, regardless of what belt level you are. So if you're a yellow belt and there's a white belt who needs some help, you're helping them. So you're immediately asked to do some teaching. And that teaching definitely helps you understand the form or the techniques better or whatever it is they are wanting you to help them with, right? So unofficially, I did teaching, all the way up through brown belt. By the time I got to be brown belt, and that's when I started taking over the children's class, um, once that official I'm an actual teacher at the studio thing took over, it was kind of eye opening. I mean, I am an elementary school teacher, so I work with kids all the time. I have kids the age that I was teaching all the time, all day long, and then I'd come and I'd work with kids in karate, and it would be a very different experience because they're expecting different things. Um, Most of them want to be there. Some of them got dragged there by their parents. So, kind of the same as elementary school. But you have different things you can do to keep them interested in what you're doing. And so I think it's important to, just like when you're fighting, plan your fight your plan. You plan your class and then hope your class is going to go the way your plan went. And if it didn't, have a backup plan. So that's the difference. What's your plan B? But have a plan. Write it down. And that's one of the things that Mr. White really emphasized. Write your plan down. Come back and evaluate your plan afterward. Did your lesson go the way you wanted it to? Did something really work with certain kids? Did something work with, the whole group? Is there something that you can do to tweak it next time? Um, you want to use that lesson plan in a couple weeks, the kids aren't going to notice. Do it again and try something new. I think that's the important thing. And Mr. White was a really good teacher in that way. Like he has elements of effective coaching DVD that he made where he talks about he compiles all the things he learned in all of his years, from people like John Wooden, just everything he's learned, and he had such a great way to teach other people, knowing that people learn in all different ways. And so I think that resource right there, I've watched that one a couple times, and attended his seminar that he did on that exact topic. Um, those ideas of knowing your students, making sure they know that you care about them, that you're not just there to teach, but you want to know what they want to know. What's going to be something that they hope to get from the class. So when I have private lesson students, I usually start by saying, "Hey, I know we've been working on these things. Um, I'd like to continue working on this. What do you think? Are there things you want to learn? Or where would you like to go with this next?" And making it something that's interesting for the person who is taking the class, reminding them, oh, I remember you told me your cat had been sick. How's your cat doing now? Just starting with that moment of some kind of personal relationship, um, helps people know that you're not just there to, you know, do your half hour and go, that you really do care about them. And I think that that's what I liked most when I was coming up the ranks, that I had instructors who cared about me. So, we formed friendships outside of Kempo, and that made me want to train harder because I wanted them to see me grow. I wanted them to know that what they've been doing for me was actually helping, and that I wanted them to be proud of me too, and not just me be proud of me. And so I try and instill that in my students too, that they know that I care about them, that I want to know that they are learning, that I want to know what they want to know from me. Um, so I think that that would be the thing I would suggest to you, as you or anybody who's teaching is you know working with people, is make sure they know you care about them, um, and have a plan. Have a plan for what you want to do, for your class, so that they aren't just thinking, oh, they came here unprepared. They don't even care about if I learned something. Know what it is you want to do, and do it.
Very nice. I like that. I like that. It's good advice. I know I definitely need to get better at the planning side. Well, once again, my wife and you would connect very well because yeah, I'm not so much of the planners, and she does not understand that how I have survived all of these years.
And
So yeah,
the plan doesn't have to be a super long thing. It can just be you got on your phone and you opened the note app, and you wrote down that you're going to do stretching for 10 minutes, and you're going to do hand pads with this, and feet pad with this, and then you're going to do these four techniques. It could be as
yeah,
simple as that, or it could be as detailed as writing out exactly what you want to do for those hand pad drills, and like, are you going to try this new thing, or what order are you going to have them do, back knuckle body, and then body back knuckle, and then a kick and a back knuckle, like, you can be even that detailed, but as long as you have something. So start small, Reggie. You
gotcha.
don't have to, go for a full page of lesson plan. So,
Gotcha. We'll do. All right. So now we get to move into what I call the lightning round. My kind of final questions as we get towards wrapping up our time. So the first one being, do you have a favorite technique?
it's hard because I have different ones on different cards that I really like. Um, hmm, I have to say favorite of all of them. I'm gonna say thrust into darkness, just because I
Oh,
really like all the kicks. I'm still really really big into kicks, so I go with
very
that one.
nice. Very nice. I like it. Do you have a favorite form and or set?
I can say my not favorite form is long form three. I mess that up all the time. Um, but let's see. I'd say my favorite form is probably short form two and short form three. Especially, I'm going to say more short three. Short form three, because you get a little bit more of your own personality into that one. At that point, you aren't like required as much to do, key eyes in certain spots. You
Mm-hmm.
can kind of make it your own. You see the techniques finally. Um, and I've done that one with partners, which makes it a lot of fun. Like different people attacking, you get two or
Oh,
three different people
okay.
attacking you. And so you can see how this might actually work. So I'd say, yeah, probably short three will be my overall favorite.
Oh, very nice. I'll have to try the attacking. I don't believe I've ever seen that. Seen anyone do that with a form. So gonna have to give that a shot. Very nice. I like it. So if there was anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, besides Ed Parker, who would that be?
Well, I mean, I miss Mr. White, so I'm going to say Bob White. I wish he was still here. I miss him all the time. Um, yep, I'm just going to go with Bob White.
That's a great answer. He's definitely missed and definitely beloved in the Kempo community. So yeah, no, that's a great answer. All right. Well, yeah, no, I thank you so much for taking the time to chit chat with me. Now is the time for shameless self promotion. I didn't butcher it that time. So you can say whatever you like, or if there's anything that we hadn't brought up that maybe you wanted to get out there, now's your chance. You have the floor to say whatever you'd like.
Sure. So I want to bring up the International Women of Kempo. We have a Facebook group. We also have a website for kempowomen.com /symposium because we hold our symposiums twice a year. Our next one should be coming up in March, and so that one should be good. Right now, we're thinking of a focus on the mental health and how we can best help women and just people in general in Kempo for mental health. But we support women and those who work with women to promote just an advancement of women in Kempo. So I recommend if you are interested, just check out the International Women of Kempo on Facebook and see what we offer. We're all about happy stuff and not necessarily happy stuff, but good for you stuff. And nothing about fighting. We don't let any kind of like arguments, come into our page because we don't want to be that sort of a group. We want there to be people who are collaborating, who we like showcasing women from all over. So if you are a woman or know women at your studio who are training, they don't have to be black belts. They could be any belt level who would be interested in sharing their story. We like to promote that too. So we, have lots of women who have, just given a couple paragraphs about their story and their a picture of them, and we like to post that. So please check us out to be able to, see what we can offer you.
Very nice. I like it. Well, yes. Thank you again so much for being on. I'm enjoyed hearing about your journey, and look forward to all that you accomplish next. And yeah, I can't wait to get this out to share with the dozens of listeners I have. And yeah, no, let's just keep spreading the good word. And yeah, thank you again.
Yes, thank you very much, Reggie.
Thank you for listening to My Empty Hands. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. If you didn't enjoy it, please share it with an enemy. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you would like to recommend a guest for the show, please email me at podcast@talkingkempo.com. Thank you.